Good afternoon. It's Tony Dattino, founder of the USA Memory Championship. And if all goes well, we'll be doing our 27th championship here at Full Sail University on August 29th. So we'll be getting out to people and giving them the qualifying date and what needs to be done to get going. So we're finally moving forward. It's taken us a little longer than I would have liked, but it's happening. Well, this morning, Michael Dattino and Catherine Hagen do a workshop at the local YMCA in Florida, here in the Orlando area. And I had the opportunity of going in and filling in and listening to the workshop today, as Michael needed to leave a bit early and attend to some of his own personal issues. So I had a chance to go over and spend the day in this Memory Institute workshop that he and Catherine Hagen are part of. And just for people who haven't heard me talk about this before, it's a 2-day-a-week workshop. It starts at 9:30, finishes up at 1:30. It's for people that are trying to stay out of the early stages of Alzheimer's, and some of them may have a touch of it. And Michael and Catherine have put together an agenda that I think is extraordinary. It covers the bases when it talks about what are things that people can do that try to stay out of impairment, and what are some of the activities they can engage in. And then if they're in that, what are some of the things they can do to kind of minimize its impact and how it curtails their life. And the unfortunate part, the studies that have been done over and over again says that the sooner you get ahead of this, the better off your results are. So that's one of the challenges that they face with the people in the workshop, is who has been there to stay ahead of it and who was there that's gotten a little bit behind it. So that's some of the challenge that they've had to face. But in any case, this morning's agenda, they do gratitude journaling, they do different types of mental exercises, they do have physical exercise as well. And so it's all good, and the people love it. And the people that love it even more are the family members that attend or recognize the benefits that their loved ones have had from attending it. Well, today they had a local doctor address some of the things that they can be doing, but more importantly, some of the things that anyone can be doing that wants to minimize or take actions that aggressively promote stronger brain health. And there's no secret pill and there's no secret formula. It's what the science world has been discovering over the last 5 years, at least the last 5, on things one can do to be more proactive and taking the best things that you might be able to do to minimize or try to minimize some of the risks that you've got. And as the doc talked about, there are no guarantees on any of these things. It's just, hey, here are some things you might pursue. And that's one of the challenges I find with people. They want guarantees. So look, I don't want to do this work if there's no guarantee it's going to be a benefit. And I'm like, I don't know that anybody has found their crystal ball yet when it comes to cognitive impairment. So here's what the doc talked about this morning. She started out with the importance of exercise, and I have discussed that in my Live with Tony broadcast now probably for the last 3 or 4 years, the importance of exercise and being engaged. It might be gardening, it may be walking, and how many minutes you should walk every day. It may be doing mild weightlifting. I mean, exercise today has so many different connotations to it, all profound in the sense that they all talk about the importance of movement, moving, not just sitting on a couch and watching television. So what can you do that is engaging in moving? So it might be bicycle riding, it could be gardening, as somebody said, can I be gardening? I love to garden, so I do some digging and planting and watering and walking around my garden and weeding. And so gardening, my goodness, as I listened to them this morning, has got so many different nuances to what does it take to plant something and put a new plant into the ground. What does it take to then keep the weeds away from growing and pulling them by hand as opposed to an insecticide? What does it take to water them and be out there and making sure they get the proper water? Not everybody's got a hose. Some people are using pails and buckets, and Now you got to fill up the bucket, you got to walk it to the plant, you got to pour it out. So you're getting, it's interesting to listen to the conversation, because you get these little nuances of exercise that a lot of people don't stop and think about. But when you step back and say, so what is exercise? And somebody says gardening, wow, what the different aspects of gardening are that really can help maintain good mental function, good cognitive health. And a lot of people think, well, exercise means if I got to be running 3 times or 4 times or 5, I got to be a marathon runner, or I got to be at the gym on a treadmill, or I got to be in the gym doing weightlifting and stuff. And the answer today is you don't need to overcomplicate this. Just as simple as walking, sometime during the day, 15, 20-minute walk. You don't have to do a power walk. You don't have to be running down the street. You're moving. You're being active. What you don't want to be doing is sitting on a couch all night long watching 3 or 4 hours of television. So that's what we covered this morning, what the doctor covered this morning as it relates to exercise. That brought her to the next stage in terms of sleep. You need to get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Well, I've talked about that, and people with insomnia want to get their sleep. They know they need to get their sleep, but by God, how do I get my sleep? And so that was an interesting conversation about, well, I know I'm supposed to get my sleep, but sometimes I don't fall asleep. I know I'm supposed to get my 7 to 9 hours of sleep, but sometimes I wake up 3 times during the night, not middle of the night. You wake up. You know what? Last night I was up at 1:45, at 4 o'clock, and at 5:30 when I finally got up and started my day. But the point of the matter is, people are trying to learn on, well, what do I need to do to get my sleep? Well, the first thing the doctor talked about today was no chocolates, no caffeine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Because caffeine, what? No chocolates. You must be serious. Yeah, why? Because chocolate has caffeine in it. So the doc was talking about no caffeine. That includes tea, your coffee, any of your foods that you eat that may have caffeine, of which chocolate is one. So minimize your chemical inputs during the 2 o'clock in the afternoon if you want to ensure it doesn't impact your sleep. How about making sure you have the right lack of lighting, I'll call it. Your blue light, no blue lights in the bedroom. No working on your iPhone an hour before bedtime. In fact, if you can do it 2 hours before bedtime. No phone calls. Don't stress yourself out an hour before you're trying to go to sleep. Now, if you're having a happy call, I guess I'd be all right with that. But as the doctor was talking about it, what you don't want to do is put yourself into a stress situation. And then think you're going to go get a good night's rest and a good night's sleep. So these are things that I've talked about over and over again. And it was nice to hear a local doctor pick up the same messaging that I've been working to give and saying, I'm not totally crazy, and I would work on this. So she gets to the third one. Now I'm ready to jump out and say, yeah, rah, what are we doing for mental exercises? What are we doing to challenge our brain to keep it active? So she asked the class, so what are some of the things that you do? And some says, well, I play chess. Somebody says, well, I can play checkers. Somebody else says, well, I can play cards. And so it bounced around to different people in the room as to things that they try to do that help them with their cognitive function. How about reading a book? Again, as long as the book is not stressing you out, you want to read. Some places I've heard you don't want to do reading before bedtime. Other people, I say, well, reading helps put you to sleep. For me, reading helps put me to sleep. Doing a crossword puzzle helps put me to sleep. So to each person, there's some variation to what do you do to try to get yourself into a good night's rest. And as the doc discussed today, having insomnia doesn't make it easy. And what you might be able to do with insomnia, do a sleep study, see if you may have obstructive sleep apnea. And so it got into a whole discussion, well, how do you know? And what do you do when you think you might? And there go sleep studies. So it was a really active, interesting session that I had the pleasure of being a part of today. as I filled in, at least shared my day with people who are really appreciating what's going on, really benefit by it. And of course, the family members, the caregivers that were there, just absolutely see it when they take the folks that are in the workshop and they get to put them in a car and bring them home and listen to what they had for their day. And very, very grateful for what this is all about, what they're doing. And that was my day today. And so now I'm back, and the evening is here, and I may go put my bathing suit on. I'm here in the Windermere section of Florida, which is near the Magic Kingdom. And it's 90 degrees as I came home, and I may put my bathing suit on and go jump into the community pool, which is now ready for local swimming. Have a great evening. We'll see you back here on Friday.